Hey there, and thank you for joining me. I want to share with you a lesson from the Recipe Book of Life. A lesson that's one of the most important ingredients that I've ever learned to carry. An ingredient that softens the nervous system, changes the way we meet the world, and perhaps most importantly, changes the way we meet ourselves. It's the practice of loving kindness. Not as an idea, not as a spiritual performance, not as pretending to be endlessly positive while secretly exhausted underneath, but as a living practice, a way of walking through the world, a way of remembering our shared humanity, especially in those moments when it would be easier just to harden, just to lock ourselves away. And for me personally, the practice has become one of the quiet anchors of my life, because the world can feel so loud sometimes, fast, reactive, overstimulated. People rushing, people hurting, people dividing, people carrying invisible grief and pressure into every room they enter. And in the middle of an ordinary day, I often find myself silently practicing Metta, sometimes without anyone around me even knowing. If I see someone angry in traffic, instead of immediately judging or reacting, I gently send the wish, "May you be free from suffering." Because suffering often speaks through anger. If I pass someone who looks exhausted, a cashier, a nurse, a stranger, moving through the grocery store with heaviness in their eyes, I may quietly whisper inwardly, "May you know peace." And in moments when someone speaks harshly or projects pain outward, I try to remember people who feel deeply safe within themselves rarely need to wound others. So instead of adding more tension to the field, I practice softening it. Not perfectly, not because I have transcended being human, but because I've learned that the nervous system becomes shaped by the emotional atmosphere we repeatedly live inside. And loving kindness changes that atmosphere, not only for others, but for ourselves. As we continue to this spiral, walking the journey of SVMT, there are some ingredients in life that don't demand attention. They're quiet, subtle, easy to overlook, and yet without them, something essential is missing. The practice of Metta and loving kindness is one of those ingredients, because many people today are emotionally starved while still being surrounded by stimulation. They're starving for community, for gentleness, for just a little bit of sincerity. They're starving for spaces where they don't feel evaluated or rushed or emotionally armored. And over time, without realizing it, the heart begins protecting itself. The nervous system braces, the body tightens, the mind scans constantly for danger, rejection, criticism, or pressure. And eventually, so many people begin speaking to themselves internally in ways that they would never speak to someone they loved. And this is where the practice enters. The ancient practice of Metta, loving kindness. It's not a practice of denial, but of deliberate care. It's not about bypassing suffering, but meeting suffering differently. So, what is it? Well, Metta is often translated as loving kindness, but I believe it's deeper than that. It's a cultivation of goodwill, a remembering that every human being, beneath all their identities and defenses and fears and conditioning, wants the same thing: to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel free from suffering, to feel peace, and to belong. And the practice begins simply with phrases like, "May I be safe, may I be peaceful, may I be healthy, may I live a life of ease." In the practice at first, these words may seem awkward, especially for people who have spent their lives in self-criticism. Some people even feel grief when the practice, because they suddenly realize how little kindness they've offered themselves internally. But slowly, through practice and repetition, through a deeper sincerity, through presence, something begins to change. And neuroscience now confirms what these contemplative traditions have understood for centuries. The nervous system changes through repeated experiences of compassion, safety, and attunement. The body listens to the emotional environment we create within ourselves. And when we repeatedly offer kindness inwardly, the system begins learning that it no longer needs to live in constant defense. What I love most about this practice is it doesn't need to be a formal practice. It doesn't only belong in a meditation class or on the cushion. It belongs in those moments where I become impatient as I'm sitting in traffic. It belongs as I'm walking through the grocery store, in difficult conversations, in hospitals, in moments of frustration, in those moments where we go to a gathering that we really don't want to be at, and in those moments when the world feels so divided and reactive and chaotic. Sometimes I practice Metta while standing in line somewhere. I'll look around quietly and remember every person here is carrying something invisible. Someone here is grieving. Someone is afraid. Someone's lonely. Someone's just trying to get through the day. Someone's just trying to hold themselves together. And in those moments, instead of moving through the world unconsciously, I try to become a small interruption in the field, a softer presence. Not because I'm trying to fix anyone, but because kindness itself changes the atmosphere that we're moving through. Sometimes the practice is directed towards myself too, especially in those moments when I feel overwhelmed or emotionally exhausted, or when I start to judge myself for not doing enough. I pause and breathe, and I remember to offer it inwardly. May I be gentle with myself right now? That simple moment alone can change the direction of an entire day. So, the practice, it's simple and beautiful and challenging and often confounding. So I invite you to try it with me now. I want to guide you through this simple practice, a practice in loving kindness. If you're in a space where you can do this, I invite you to just pause for a moment, wherever you are right now. And if it feels supportive, allow the body to soften just a little bit, just by relaxing your shoulders, by unclenching your jaw, by being with the breath. And just breathe for a moment. Gently bring awareness to the center of your chest as you breathe in and out, this heart space. And notice what's there. There's no need to force anything, just notice. And as you breathe into that space, I invite you to silently repeat these phrases to yourself. May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be healthy. May I live a life of ease. And just pause for a moment. Notice what's there. Without forcing anything, just notice. And again, may I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be healthy. May I live my life with ease. And just let that energy echo within you now. And notice what's there. Feel that breath. Sense that heart. Allow yourself to arrive with that energy. And then I invite you to move a little bit deeper. And perhaps you can bring to mind someone who you love easily. Someone who you love easily. And notice how it feels when you offer these phrases to them. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May you live a life of ease. And just feel that energy moving. And if it feels possible, extend this outward. Extend those phrases outward to strangers. May you all be safe. May you all be peaceful. May you all be healthy. May you all live a life of ease. And breathe And if it still feels possible to stay connected, allow yourself to imagine someone who you've had a difficulty with, and extend this outward to that person. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May you live a life of ease. Notice what's there now, without judging it or expecting it to be different than it should be. And then if it feels possible, imagine yourself opening up to the whole world around you, to the collective human experience itself. As you send these phrases out, may all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May you all be healthy. And may the world be embraced in the energy of ease and loving kindness. And as you allow that energy to flow out, recognize there's nothing to be expected in return. As you send that energy out, you're sending it out not because harmful behavior should be excused, not because suffering multiplies or loving kindness disappears, but because this energy matters. Kindness matters, and love matters. As you feel that energy now, allow yourself to come back to your breath, come back to your body, and just reflect for a moment and recognize that maybe loving kindness isn't merely something we practice. Maybe with practice, it's something we become, one gentle moment at a time. Perhaps we can listen from that space. Perhaps we can speak from that place. Perhaps it's a way we can move through the world. And perhaps the deepest gift of this practice is not that it changes everyone around us, but that it slowly returns us to the parts of ourselves that perhaps we've abandoned in the pursuit of survival. Because beneath the noise, beneath the pressure, beneath the striving, the heart is still beating. The heart is still waiting. And loving kindness may be the one ingredient that brings us back to love itself, to the truth itself. So thank you for listening. And maybe as you move through the rest of the day, you can carry this ingredient with you. Maybe when someone you see is struggling, you may silently whisper, "May you be free from suffering." Maybe when you notice your own heart tightening, you pause long enough to offer yourself kindness too. May I be free from suffering. Because every moment becomes part of the recipe, and the life we create is shaped not only by what we achieve, but by the quality of presence we bring into the world while we're here. So take in a nice comfortable breath and exhale that energy out in the world. And remember, love is the way and truth is the path. And this is the practice of loving kindness.